were planned to move an agenda forward. Absolutely, 100%. And I'm not really that much of a skeptical person by nature. I'm definitely an optimist, and I generally think that most people really want to do the best job that they can. They want to be a good person. But boy, when you look at this just like you did, and you see that pattern of lies and deceits and risk transfer, right? I mean, there are so many different ways. It's all of the legacy garbage derivatives that cannot settle, that were moved onto the balance sheets of the central banks, on which you and I as taxpayers are responsible.
Yes.
It's all of the wave of insiders selling out, while those pension plans and, all those money managers, I mean, I hate to even call them that, because I'm too much of a lady to tell you what I really think of them on air. Okay.
Okay. You mentioned gold, and we're talking about all of this happening, recession, China, Russia, as we've said many times before, they've been accumulating a lot of gold. Many other countries are repatriating their gold. With the U.S. right now, many people think the U.S. has no gold. Other people saying the U.S. does have gold. Is gold going to be something that is used in the next system?
Well, look, there are things that are way beyond my control. But what I can tell you is this. Historically, yes, because there is 100% of the time demand across the entire economy for gold, whether it's in manufacturing, it's in the financial system, it's in art, it's in food, it's everywhere. So there is always demand, and silver as well. For physical metals, there are traits that they possess that they have never been able to duplicate. So, and plus with gold, it's indestructible. So the answer is yes. Plus, what we've seen in the third quarter of 2018 is that year over year central bank buying is up. I think I could be off a little bit. Obviously, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was up like 28%. What's so significant back to levels in 2015 as the peg, the currency peg system first began to break down, the current one. But what's really significant about that are the number of new central banks that are starting to accumulate gold, not just the Russias and Chinas and Indias, but a lot of new central banks that were not accumulating gold are now accumulating gold. Why would they do that?
I was just going to ask you that.
If it's so worthless. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, why would they even hold gold? Because they've been telling us that it's a barbarous relic. They've been telling us it's not money. Why would they even hold it? Just to have the shiny object? It makes no sense.
Exactly.
And the only... Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, the only reason they would do it is if they know that something's going to happen. They know that their paper system is going to collapse.
Exactly. And what they also know is that is how, again, when you have one choice, it's kind of easy to anticipate what that outcome is. And that is how a financial system, a currency system, is reset. It's against gold. So whoever holds the gold is actually holding and protecting for a central bank, their power. Keep in mind what the IMF is the third largest holder of gold that everybody donated to them, including the U.S. There's a very significant, so yes, part of what happens through a hyperinflationary event, and this is going to be a global hyperinflationary event, is complete loss of confidence, the public's complete loss of confidence in the system. So that means that they're going to have to do something to regain that confidence. And the something that they always do, including in this country, I have the link to the fireside chat by Roosevelt, is they back the currency, at least partially, with gold to create that stabilization. So, central banks are buying gold hand over fist, but they don't want you to, because that is not a contract-based product that is out of the system, and it has 100% global demand. Maybe sometimes a little more, a little sometimes less, depending upon the current economy, but 100% there is always demand.
Do you think countries will ask the IMF for their gold back?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't know, because I think that what's happening is that the IMF will be the umbrella currency. The SDR, their internal currency, is most likely to be that internal currency. And then all other currencies would become local. The US dollar only good here, the Chinese yuan only good in China, etc. So, and the IMF has discussed putting a component of gold into that SDR basket. So I don't really think it's likely that countries would ask the IMF for their gold back, because they're not holding it for them. That was given to them as part of the agreement to be part of the IMF.
Okay, so if you're saying that we're going to be moving into this SDR and each country will have their local currency, is this going to be a central bank currency where it's a paper that is attached to debt? Because right now we have the Federal Reserve note. It's a debt note.
Right. I don't think so, because the problem is we're at the end of that debt cycle. So either into the new system, they have to wipe all this debt clean so they can start and grow a whole lot more debt, which is certainly a possibility. But, even easier than doing that would really just go into a Fed coin. I think we'll always have a US dollar coin in this country, because as long as you keep the name, people don't realize that everything has changed. So I'm betting that there's going to be a US dollar coin, but it'll still be controlled. And if they can get everything completely intangible, so not even that paper, then it is much easier to control any monetary policy. Because right now, if the central bank is trying to generate inflation or whatever they're trying to do, they put in place a policy, but it takes 18 months-ish for them to know if that policy had impact. Whereas if they want you to spend, they don't want you to hold your money in the bank, then all they do is charge negative rates deeply enough that you watch your principal eroding. And rather than just sit there and watch it erode for nothing, then people will have more of a tendency to go out and buy something, convert it into anything that has or may have the ability to hold its value. Because obviously in a negative environment, negative interest rate environment, it attacks your principal. So, and that's instantaneous. You're not spending fast enough. Good. We'll just push interest rates down deeper. So that's what they want. But there's still too many cash transactions in this country as well as globally for them to completely easily do it. They have the plan in place to make that happen, to convert to a digital currency without having to pull cash out of the system. So kind of alerting you what their intention is. And they say, and I saw it, so I believe this, that they can have it in place within weeks during the next crisis. You can find that information. You can call us and we'll send you the link. But over at the IMF, it's called Breaking Below the Lower Zero Bound. That's the blueprint of how they intend to do it. It's genius. Just like all this other inflation, all this other stuff is. It's genius. But it's evil genius, and it's not okay with me personally.
So, I mean, for all on a local basis, like here in the United States, In the beginning, we talked about maybe the Fed will be taken over. Will the Fed, if it is taken over, will it create currency out of thin air, or will there be gold that is backed, where this currency is backed by gold and they just can't create it with interest?
Well, a number of things could happen, but number one, as I've heard a lot of people have asked me or told me that China's planning on backing their currency with gold, or we could back our currency with gold. Here's the thing about that. First, they would have to burn off the current debt, because as soon as you back a currency with gold, it fixes whatever the garbage is. It's fixed right at that moment. That's why they can't take all of this unpayable debt that we're currently at and just move it over into a new system. We have to get rid of it. And that's what the transition from the LIBOR is about, because they have to reset all of those contracts. So we need a total financial system reset. So yeah, the next system could be blatantly out of thin air, or it could be, if it's a cryptocurrency, it could be a transaction-based creation, right? In other words, every time you use it, that's how you create it. Just like in the current system, every time you took on debt, you created money. So I don't know exactly yet, because I haven't come across anything that has told me, they have all of the bugs worked out. But in a cryptocurrency circumstance, that it is more likely that we're moving into a transaction-based money instead of a debt-based money. Gold is a labor-based, savings-based money. So yeah, they'll anchor it after they've gotten rid of all the garbage for a minute or two, until we get lulled into that false sense of security, and then the game will start again. At least that's what history tells us, and I think that's the most likely outcome.
So what do you see happening moving forward next year? I mean, do you think they'll also raise rates next year? And
I think the system is going to implode before they have the ability to do it too many more times. From the data that I'm seeing, I'm going to tell everybody right now, pay attention to the volume on these exchanges, because that is really the big key here. The volatility, because there is such a narrow base of buyer in these markets, you can create a lot of volatility with just a little bit of volume, in other words, buying and selling. But what happens when that selling increases to that volatility, it takes it to the extreme levels and everything will be shut down. And I think we'll see that next year. If we don't see that before the end of this year, I hope we don't see it before the end of this year. We're middle December. I'm hoping we can make it the next 2 weeks. I guess we can, but I think we'll see that next year. Okay. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
Lynette, thank you very much for being on the X22 Report Spotlight. Once again, how can people see all your work?
ITM Trading on YouTube. They can Google my name, Lynette Zang. We really are all about, I created a strategy since 1987 is when I started studying currencies. So we're all about helping people plan for this, because failing to plan is planning to fail. And, central bankers and corporations clearly have a plan. Individuals need a plan too. So they could call us at 888-696-4653. If you're working with them, if you're working with me, we're all trained in this. We all pay attention to this, and that's how they can find us.
Great. Lynette, once again, thank you very much for being on the Spotlight. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you know what? There is one more thing I'd like to say. I'm sorry. I almost forgot. But because we have a special event that's planned and the second weekend in February, it's a whole weekend workshop. So for accredited investors, they would come into town. We're just doing it in a very, very small group so that you get a lot of one-on-one. And the whole goal of that workshop is to help people identify and create their own plan that they can execute. And I'm really excited about the event. It's the most comprehensive one I've done it on the strategy yet. And I'm doing it because that's where we are in the trend cycle. We need to have a plan, people, please.
How do people find out about the event? Where should they go for that?
They can go to www.itmtradingevents.com. And they can get all the information on it, or again, they can give us a call at 888-696-4653, and any precious metals consultant can help them get that information. But it's good. It's a critical event, so I think it's important.
Great.